The views expressed on this episode of the Came to Believe Recovery podcast do not necessarily reflect those of KHLT, Take 12 Recovery Radio, or our affiliates. The opinions on this episode should not be taken as medical, psychological, or professional advice and are those of the host, co-host, and guests. KHLT and Take 12 Recovery Radio are not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship. Well, greetings, my friends. I am the Monty Man from Take 12 Recovery Radio, and this is the Came to Believe Recovery Podcast. And now, here are your Came to Believe Recovery podcasting broadcasters to launch us forth on this week's show.
Well, hello there, everybody. My name is Alicia. Welcome to the Came to Believe Recovery Podcast. I am here and joined with Tom and the Monty Man. And it's his birthday, you guys, today.
His birthday. So, wait, I want to ask a question, Monty.
I knew he'd be ready for that one.
I knew it. I knew. All right, wait. But I want a question. I bet you I was the first person to send you a birthday message.
Because you live in New York.
Actually,
I did it. It was 2 in the morning. Yes.
Yeah, he's
Well,
right.
because you're 3 hours ahead of us.
Yep. Thank you.
We were sleeping.
I woke up at 5 this morning and I said, I'm going to message him happy birthday. I'm sure he doesn't have his phone on. And if he does, oh well.
Uh-oh. Did he wake you up, Monty?
No.
Okay.
But when he woke up, he found message all silly stuff from me on his phone.
And two little animated thingies.
People.
On my
Birthday
phone.
things.
Yes, it was the first cyber birthday greeting of today. Yeah.
So
yeah. Thank you.
think about that. The first thought of my day was Monty.
Was you.
I love it. You know, my favorite saying is, "I'm all I think about all day long." How about you?
Today, I've been thinking about Monty, and it's there's worse things I could think about.
Yeah, right. Oh my goodness sakes! So I'm really excited about this show because the topic is what, Alicia?
Choice. And all about choice. Like, is an addiction a choice? Are we choosing it? Can we choose to stop?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
First, it's time for the Came to Believe Recovery Icebreaker.
That's right.
Hey everybody, I don't mean to be rude, but do you know what time it is?
Yes.
Do ya? Huh?
I do.
That's right. It's time to find out, what does Alicia's shirt say?
Thank you, Cecil. Yes, it is time to find out, what does Alicia's shirt say?
Today, it says, well, it doesn't say much. You have to look at the picture.
It says, sit down, bow down, and don't lift any weights.
Yeah, no. Read the Bible or devotional.
Oh, okay. Pray.
And lift heavy things. And then repeat it every day or
So
twice
read the
a day.
word, pray, exercise, basically is what you're saying, and repeat.
And repeat.
And
And there's
repeat.
a story to it, Tom. Do you
Yeah.
want to?
Let's
And he
hear
has
this.
one.
Let's hear this
We actually
story.
have sweatshirts with the same logo.
I have
on there.
one too, a sweatshirt. It's a little bit harder because of the
Right,
color.
there it
Green.
is. If you're watching on YouTube, there it is. Yep. Yep.
And what's awesome is when people ask about it, you can tell them it's read, pray, lift, repeat. And
Read,
it
pray,
came because we were in some meeting talking about much. I don't know what we were talking about, Alicia. It's a year ago, maybe longer.
Probably morning routines or something.
Morning routines or something. And you said, I think you said it. You said, like, you read, you pray, you lift, repeat. That's what we do. And Lisa grabbed that and went and found graphics and
And
created
made a
the
shirt.
shirt and sent
she
it to
sent
her.
me this.
Yeah.
But I think
Wow.
it is on the website. Isn't
It's
it?
on the
So if
website,
people
yeah.
want to get one, go to
Really? On the
CaneToBelieveRecovery.org.
CaneToBelieveRecovery.org website?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But right, you read your devotional, you get up, get yourself together, and it could really be anything: Bible, devotional, a book, something intellectual. Then pray,
and pray.
then
And lift.
exercise, lift, and repeat.
Lift your fork to your mouth.
Yeah, repeat. We gotta let you go with some of that today because it's your birthday, but not really.
But not really.
Not really.
You can put your fork to your mouth if it has meat and eggs on it.
Whatever.
Well, I'm excited. Go ahead.
We have since Alicia said you should eat a million eggs a day or whatever it was. We have
say that?
increased our egg purchases.
Good.
Yeah, so we get our ground beef from Better Beef here in town. It's locally grown. It's not from China or whatever. And then we get our egg. And you know what? It's only a couple pennies more, and it's really, really good beef. It doesn't have a bunch of weird stuff in it. And eggs. And so I'm on this thing. I don't usually eat until noon or 1 o'clock, and that's usually what I have is beef and eggs of some kind. And bacon.
Yep.
Yeah, just
It's the
one-
healthy
hey,
things. It's the healthy things that people don't know about. They think it's clogging their arteries, but it's not. Check the science. It's carbs and sugar that causes inflammation. It's not the fat and the meat.
This message has been brought to you by Alicia and
Email us if you disagree. I would love to talk to you.
right.
Yeah, oh my
Hey,
gosh.
listen. I have some useless and mindless information for this week. Just a couple of them. On an average, 100 people choke to death on ballpoint pens every year.
Really?
What? Because they're chewing on them, right?
They're chewing on them.
I chew on 'em,
piece
but this
breaks
way.
off, or yeah.
All right.
I can't choke on it that
Well,
way.
you know, I used to pick my teeth with the cap. You know, the little
Yeah.
And then it could get
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I wonder how many people drive with a pen in their mouth.
Well, why would they have a pen in their mouth if they're driving?
Because they're taking note. I mean, people text while they're driving. Do people write while they're driving? People do a lot of weird stuff while they're driving. Who knows? Number 2, Frank Sinatra was offered the starring role in Die Hard when he was 70 years old.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But Bruce Willis
down.
got it, right? Is that Bruce Willis?
Yep. And we all think we know what the oldest profession in the world is.
Yes.
Wink, wink.
But
But
that's
it's
not.
actually dentistry.
Really?
Evidence of teeth being drilled dates back 9,000 years ago.
What'd they drill him with?
I don't
Rock?
know. That's ding, 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 ding. I don't know. But there's the mindless and useless
Wow.
information.
And I thought you were going to mention, and maybe you still are, the song that we started the podcast with.
Yes.
Was from.
Yeah.
Are we not
Yes,
supposed
for
to
last-
say what that was from?
Yes, last week, Sam A. from San Rafael, California, was the first person to write in, and it was the theme to "I Dream of Jeannie," was the song last week.
But
I-
today was.
well, we can't say what today is yet because they got to guess
Okay.
it. But I kind of pulled a switcheroo because the bumper music last week when we came back from the break was actually from Bewitched. So if you
That's
got
what
either
I
one of those, you know, you got it right. So Sam got a CD of, actually got a flash drive. He wanted a flash drive of last week's show and a couple of the best of Came to Believe Recovery podcast. So if you can guess what television show the little sound clip was at the beginning of this broadcast, and if you don't, you can rewind and go back and listen.
I know it wasn't very long, but I heard it. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I know that one. Tom, did you know that one?
Did you know
I
that?
don't.
You might
I mean,
not
I
know.
do. I don't remember it. Now I can't even think what it was. You got to play it again. Can you play it
I know,
again?
It was
No,
on-
I don't have it
Not
queued
fair.
up.
No,
I don't have
no.
it
They
queued
can
up.
rewind it.
All right.
Well, maybe. Wait a minute. Hold
Well,
on.
this
Let me
could give you a hint, right? Wasn't this kind of in there?
let me. No, not really. Here's a piece.
Oh yeah, I know what that is.
That's the hint.
Yeah, I know that.
There you go.
Okay, don't say it.
Yeah,
won't.
don't say it. I gotta try to get my. There we go. Back to where it was. Yeah. So email. Be the first email at TAKE the number 12 radio at Comcast.net. That's take 12 radio at Comcast.net. Tell us what television show that was from, and we'll send you a copy of today's show and a few others from the best of the Came to Believe Recovery podcast. And then you can share them with people and help people recover from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. Doo-doo-doo.
Yes.
So
Yes,
can I take a minute and
Take a minute.
talk about some Came to Believe happenings? Because I think that people come on and listen, and they may not. Everybody know exactly what we do when we're not doing this.
Sure.
But we run recovery retreats around the country and around the world, and we deliver the step process. We teach the steps the way the Cleveland and Akron group was doing back in the 1930s, the original group that wrote the book, the guys that wrote it. And we're taking people through the steps that way. And we've been engaged with the Salvation Army in California and going into their ARCs, guys, and it's exciting. You guys, the three of us, will be in Anaheim next week.
Yay.
And it's not just the largest retreat that we're
Ever.
doing with the Salvation Army. It's the largest retreat Came to Believe Recovery has ever done. The total attendance should be somewhere, including us, which will include us, is around 200.
Yeah.
So it's a big number and it's a big deal.
Big deal.
Just so everybody knows, we also have one of our public retreats due in Nevada City in November. We have one in Florida in October. So we have two of our public retreats available, and there's spaces left. If you want to come in here, learn how the founders did the steps and live in the go and get a handle on right side living, the opportunities are out there for you in the public as well as those in the private rehab centers of the Salvation Army. But guys, one thing I want to talk about a little bit is the success coming out of the Long Beach ARC, which is where we've really tested the way we've modified. I don't want to say modified in the fact that we changed the program, just the modality of how we are able to present it to them. And we added some supporting material that's all been good. But the success has been phenomenal. It's been beyond what they really thought that the success would be. So it's very exciting.
For the listener's sake that may not
Sure.
know, ARC stands for Adult Rehabilitation Center.
Right.
True? Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Now, and just to add a little bit more, the Salvation Army is the largest provider of adult rehabilitation in the country. There's no organization that
In the
provides
world,
more.
actually.
In the world, I guess,
Yeah.
okay, but certainly
Yeah.
in the country.
Yes.
They operate 120 of these ARCs, and 18 of them are in the California Western
That's
Territory
huge.
Division, and we're involved with that. But we've had this opportunity now to have access to a whole bunch of people who are hurting and broken and wanting to hear a message of recovery and embrace recovered. And
Amen.
that's just kind of a praise report that what we are doing is really having an effect on people. And we're so excited, all of us, I know, of heading to Anaheim next week. For you listeners, on Wednesday next week, it's a special day that I'm sure they've all been planning behind the scenes. Monty's birthday today, but yours truly is next
Tom's
Wednesday.
birthday next Wednesday.
On Travel Day, that's the day that
Travel
I'll be
Day,
flying into
So,
Anaheim to
it's-
meet Tom
yeah.
on his birthday.
I mean, I'm just so, the team behind the scenes, Alicia and Lisa and I, who've been writing material and content and things to help people and support them, have met with such great response from people that are reading it and involved in it, and I'm just so excited about everything that's going on. And Came to Believe Recovery was able to bring on a chief development officer here who started today, guys. This is somebody who's on board now, and their entire mission is to help raise money so we can spread this message even further, because we do it. The guys at the ARCs don't pay for it. The guys that even come to our private retreats, it's all subsidized. And we want to be able to, believe it or not, Alicia, guess who called me yesterday? Father Ignatius from the Bronx called me yesterday.
Wow.
From St. Anthony's Center for Renewal, of which we've done 2 retreats for at no cost to them. So, guys, we want to be able to do this. We are working with the Salvation Army. We'd love to be other places. We would love that anyone that's seeking recovery from any kind of addiction at least have the choice to say, let me try this. Because if it works for you, it really works. There's a 4th dimension of existence. And so some resources and some ability to have it be at no cost. We know our demographic, typically, when they hit the point where they're ready to quit whatever it is that's got them broken, they're generally financially challenged as well. So sorry for the big advertisement there.
And may I just say, may I just say, too, that listeners, if you don't know this, that to date, the 12-step process of recovery is still the most successful and has the most outcomes of any other product. You talk to any clinician, you talk to any treatment center, you talk to any of them, and that is always the answer. And so I look at that and I go, okay, so when was it most effective? Well, it was most effective back in the days of Akron and Cleveland and so forth, when Clarence and the boys and Dr. Bob were taking people through the steps in a very short period of time. Because men and women were dying. They were dragging them off to insane asylums and doing belladonna treatment and shock therapy. They didn't know what to do with them. Well, along came the 12 steps, and along came this process, and guess what? People were recovering. People were moving from a hopeless state of mind and body to a state of recovered. And they were doing it in a matter of days. And sometimes with Dr. Bob, it was a matter of hours. And so why not go back and do it the way it was done when it was most effective? And that's what Came to Believe has been doing for a long time now. And a lot of people still don't know about this. So it's important to get the word out. CameToBelieveRecovery.org, and you'll hear that website again, I think, here when we do the break. But, Tom, that's so important, what you just shared. And I think some people are listening right now, they go, I had no idea. Because that's what we hear all the time, right? I had no idea. Nobody told us.
And we do have Zoom meetings on the website as well. If you wanted to just check out a meeting and what we're about, we have those on the website as well.
Yep. So here is email that we got concerning last week's show. So last week's show was on the topic of addiction switching. And this comes from recovery recording artist Mike O'Brien. He said, what is going on in us that makes us want to change the way we feel? That's in quotations. That was a good one on your show. I'm listening to it right now. Addiction switching is a very interesting topic. I tried quitting booze a number of times and switching to pot, but eventually I ended up with a vodka and tonic in my hand. I've spent a tremendous amount of time working on the symptoms to what makes me tick and how I operate. The step work has absolutely helped me. I can honestly say I like being here and I like who I am. It's a lot to talk about. I have opened myself up to the love of God and surrendering to Him. I am definitely not perfect and still make mistakes, but it is way different than it was 6 years ago. I didn't believe in anything at the end of my drinking. I'd like to say that quite possibly I have changed buses, and I do my best today to continue to grow in the spirit. So we've talked about it was the same bus. We were just switching seats. Mike has declared that he has gotten off that bus and he's on a new bus, and he sent that email in to us. So there you go.
That was beautiful.
Great. Oh, love those.
Yeah, good stuff. So if you have something you'd like to comment on our shows, please send us an email at take12radio@comcast.net. It's up there on the YouTube page right now. If you are on YouTube as well. All right. Great shirt, even though it has exercise suggested on it. Good stuff.
It's not a suggestion, Monty.
It's not a
Tell
suggestion.
you.
Alicia, are you going to run out of shirts?
No, I'm not. That was one of my addictions, maybe. I have about
okay.
73 pairs of yoga pants, and I have more shirts than that. So I'll be good all year.
Cool. All right. All right. Don't go away, everybody. We'll be back right after this. Have you been struggling with addictions and behaviors that seem to have you stuck and without hope? Well, here's my question. How soon do you want to get well? Well, I'd like to introduce you to Came to Believe Recovery and the amazing retreats that are designed to jumpstart your recovery by offering the chance to go through the steps that have worked for hundreds of thousands of us since they were first described over 80 years ago. This 3-day weekend retreat gives you an immersive opportunity to achieve a spiritual awakening that leads to hope and freedom. For retreat dates and locations and much more, visit cametobelieverecovery.org. That's cametobelieverecovery.org. Freedom is waiting for you. The question is, what are you waiting for?
Oh, I'm a failure because I haven't got a brain.
What would you do with a brain if you had one?
Do? Why, if I had a brain, I could while away the hours, conferring with the flowers, consulting with the rain. And my head I'd be scratching while my thoughts were busy hatching if I only had a brain.
Yeah. So if you actually had a brain, if you actually had a decent thought in your head, and you were faced with a decision to stick a needle in your arm or not to put the plug in the jug or not to stop drinking or to start drinking, to whatever, pick your poison, would you have the ability, if you had a brain, would you have the ability to choose? And that is the question on this week's show. That's the topic. Choice. And so, Alicia, you asked some questions. What is choice? What is this thing called choice that we seem to sometimes disagree on, even in the recovery community, right?
Yes, I think it's a lot about semantics. I get that. But I get confused myself. Tom and I talk about it quite a bit. And like sometimes comes out of my mouth and then I question. I'm like, I shouldn't say that, or should I? Is it okay when people say, and me included, what's your drug of choice? That could be offensive to somebody that feels that they're not choosing their addiction, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but then Tom and I were talking about it yesterday. It's kind of like we need to go deeper on that. And it might be the wording, and there just needs to be more words around it to explain. It's not that they can't, because then I go the route of, well, we chose to stop. That's a
Did
choice.
we?
Well, then here we go. Did we?
All right, here we go.
I think I did. I
Yeah.
chose to get help. I was going to be done with it. Did I not?
Well,
I don't know.
let's look at that. So here's this comes from Merriam-Webster's. The meaning to choose is to select freely and after consideration. Now, according to Merriam-Webster's, to select freely and after consideration, that may put a whole nother spin on this thing, right? Because if I am in the grips of an addiction, am I selecting freely? Or, as what the big book describes as, or am I being driven to something and I've lost the power in choice? So let me just read this quote. This comes from There Is a Solution, page 24 in the third edition of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Now, this refers to alcoholism now. This does not refer to narcotic addiction or any other compulsivities necessarily, but alcoholism. It says, at a certain point in the drinking of every alcoholic, he passes into a state where the most powerful desire to stop drinking is of absolutely no avail. This tragic situation has already arrived in practically every case long before it is suspected. The fact is that most alcoholics, for reasons yet obscure, have lost the power of choice in drink. Our so-called willpower becomes practically non-existent. We are unable at certain times to bring into our consciousness without sufficient force the memory of the suffering and humiliation of even a week or a month ago. We are without defense against the first drink. That would suggest that we're not choosing. What do you think, Tom?
Such a hard time with this. My brain is like exploding. But Tom, you go.
All right. Well, let me go to. I found choice versus decision, because both of those words now we've heard that today. Now, right? Make a decision, or we've lost the power of choice. So, I found this definition or the difference between it, and then I have something even deeper, but it's too deep for this show. We may have to do one on choice versus decision. I mean, we are doing choice, but deeper even than what we're going to be talking about. But choice says this. Choice involves selecting from options and is connected to reasons, values, and beliefs. And a decision is the act of making up one's mind about something and is connected to behavior, performance, and consequences. They're pretty close.
But there is a difference. Yeah.
But there's a difference. So when I choose, I make a decision, is the act of, I made my mind up about something, and it's connected to behavior, performance, or consequences. It could be that I've made a decision to seek help. Choice involves selecting from options and is connected to reasons, values, and behaviors. Well, I have all these reasons, and my belief is I can do this, or my belief is I can't do it without help. So I'm going to choose help. So that's where I go with this. I think the choice you make is to get help. You choose that you can't choose to stop. Does that make sense?
On your own.
We've lost the power and choice. So, Alicia and I, this is not the first discussion we've had on choice. Did we choose to stop? Did I choose to stop drinking? Is that what caused me to quit drinking and drugging? Was the choice? I chose to stop one day and just stopped. If I could do that, I am going to put forth the theory then that I'm not alcoholic, because what Monty read was we've lost the power of choice in drinking.
In drinking, yeah.
Once a phenomenon, a craving has us, and the allergy and our habits and our minds and our behaviors, absolutely, I wake up in the morning, and Alicia and I were talking about this, and this is, I think, where people get confused. You guys can agree, disagree, add, subtract. And when you're in your addiction, you're making decisions and choices to feed that addiction. I'm going to choose to go do this today. I got to go make sure the money's in the bank. I'm going to work only this much. I'm going to go to this liquor store. I'm going to choose. You're making choices and decisions. And some would say, see, you're choosing to drink. So you're just a lifestyle. You've chosen a lifestyle. There's nothing addiction about it. Well, you could choose not to go do that today. And on the surface, you might, the normies, and we don't use that word anymore, but people that don't suffer from a substance use disorder, it does kind of look like that.
Yeah.
We get a lot of times why can't you just stop? You chose. You didn't have to get in your car and go to the liquor store. But I did. I lost my choice. I don't know how to control these feelings. The only thing I need to do is drink, and that forces me to act differently. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing. Then I got to a place one day where I said, I don't know what to do. I can't stop. But today, my choice is to find a solution. I don't know what the solution is, but the choice is to go look. So that's where choice comes in. we did make a choice. There's a decision. There is a point where we have to say that, right? Or else we won't take the next steps of trying to find help. A lot of stuff I said.
Really good. Really good.
Yeah.
Alicia, what do you think?
I thought, well, first, Monty, when I said, didn't we choose to stop? And you said, did we? I thought you were going to go down the avenue of, and maybe you are, like God chose us and he helped us to stop. I stopped because it was in his plan. Is that what you were alluding to or no?
Sort of. I think the question the answer to the question is yet to be completely discovered. I think it's one of those mysteries, kind of. I mean, we talk about, this dual personality. We got a puppy dog and we got a wolf, right, living in us. And we got I got my scared little boy, and then I got the guy who's sure of it, that kind of thing. And so when I think of even coming to God at all, did I choose to walk down the aisle and fall on my knees at the altar and turn my will and my life over to the care of Jesus? Did I choose that, or did God draw me to him? If I'm going to go biblically, he drew me. I don't even come to him under my own power.
Exactly.
And so he drew me. It was his power. Is it the same thing? But there's also some free will, I think, involved in that too. If I wanted to kick and scream enough, I could have not gone down, I suppose. But the ability to go to the altar and give my life to Christ was on his power, not my own. Is it the same way when I chose to get help? Is it God's power that's moving me in that direction? Yes. But is it also partially me choosing to allow him to do that? I think so. You've heard me say before that, intervention is inevitable. You will be intervened on. If you're an active alcoholic or drug addict or whatever addict, you will be intervened on. Someday, some way, it will happen, either by your significant other, either by Johnny Law or the Undertaker. But you will experience an intervention, and it will, or it may not, have anything to do with your choice. There are people that have been intervened on by the court system that did not choose that. But because the court system stepped in, they are thriving. They live in a state of recovery today, and they're helping other people. And they get criticized oftentimes. Well, I wasn't court ordered. I came in here because I chose to. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Thank you very much. But I would have to say, I think just about at least 60% of the people that are in the 12-step rooms are in there because of some kind of intervention that was not up to them. And now they're grateful it happened. So did they choose? I don't think so.
Well, I like that. I'm with you. You were driven, but I'll take it to, let me just put a little spin on it. I was driven to a choice, but did I choose? No, there was an intervention. You're right, Monty. I like that. I mean, consequences in my life and things got me to a place where I had to choose, but I didn't do it without those consequences in that intervention. It was those consequences that brought me to a place when I couldn't fix it on my own. So I didn't have a choice. This may be where you're going, Alicia, my choice was I didn't have this choice of just quit or don't quit. My choice was I need help because I can't quit because of these interventions. You see, the choice was that. Really, you know what I mean? I mean, I think if you're not in addiction, you can choose to or not to. That kind of choice. In our addiction, when we're choosing it, when it comes to, addressing our addiction, that's really what we're choosing, to address it. And it could definitely be from intervention that brings us to a place. When we do step one, we say yes, yes, and anything. We ask 3 questions. Are they choices? Yes. Could you choose to say no? I'm not an addict. My life's, I don't want to do anything about it, and I'm not willing to do anything about it. Could you choose to say those 3 things? I guess. But
so don't you think the issue? Don't you think the issue a lot when it comes to this choice thing that we're really? I mean, we could talk all day about semantics and everything, but I think the people that have a problem with this are usually outside of the realms of the rooms of recovery. They're family members. They're
100%.
They're the pastors, the rabbis, our friends and family, because they're like, why can't you just stop? Why can't you just choose? You made a choice to pick up. Why can't you choose to put down? I think it is very possible that I did make a choice the very first time I ever picked up something. I don't know. Well, I certainly wasn't suffering from the phenomenon of craving because I had never put it in my body yet.
Right.
But was the obsession going on before I ever put it in my body? Maybe that's part of the sin nature. I don't know. But I think if there was ever a choice, it was before it ever got out of control. But then after that point, if I claim that I'm alcoholic, which I do, it's a medical condition, right? I had lost the power in choice. Because let me tell you something, guys. Once I put alcohol in my body, it did something for me. It did something for me that I could not do for myself. And it became my God, little g. And it was now calling the shots. And I no more could stop drinking from that first drink that I took in junior high. You know what I did after I took the first drink of Christian Brothers brandy? You know what I did?
Took a second drink.
I took a second drink. I didn't even think about it. Didn't even think about it. Right? I was being driven. And from that point on in my drinking career, I was being driven. I would show up at the liquor store and there would be somebody in front of me talking to the guy behind the counter, and I'm getting angry. I'm sober. I'm sober. God help me, I'm sober. And as soon as the guy walked away and I stepped up to the counter, everything was okay. I didn't have any alcohol in me yet, but everything was okay. Because the obsession of the mind was, I was so controlled by it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I think you're right. I don't think, if you have the ability to choose to stop without any spiritual connection, without any aid from anywhere, just on your own intellect, you're probably not an alcoholic. You're probably not an addict. If you can just stop.
I think, Monty, I did too. I chose the first drink and I was like you. That first drink felt so good. It turned the switch. One drink. I went to 2. And, normies and people I know in my life now today that'll have a drink, and no drink ever did that to them. No drink ever did it.
So they don't understand it.
So there's the physical part of it, right? Our setup, our DNA switches were set a certain way.
Yes.
So that we're never predestined, but we are predisposed. We're not predestined.
Right.
But I think today, knowing what I know and knowing, if you watched my life a year before I started drinking, you could have predicted it, maybe. Seeing the way I was acting and some of the stuff that was going on, I wonder if somebody would have said, boy, those are the actions of somebody who, if they, I don't know, but I think so.
Go back to that. Let's go back to that part in There's a Solution. This tragic situation has already arrived in particularly every case long before it is suspected.
Yeah.
Something's going on way before we pick up that first drink or drug. Something's going on. What is it? Is it the sin nature? I don't know. but something's going on.
Well, why do other people with a sin nature not have it? So
Because they do other stuff.
they do other, or they don't, but so we
Yeah.
all know, as we talk in the retreat, you know, that the thing that makes you an addict, it's not the spiritual malady, because everybody could have it. They do other things. You're right. What makes us alcoholics is this allergy and phenomenon, this mental, just other elements
The
that
mental
seem to
obsession,
only
yeah.
exist with us, right? Because it's undeniable. If it was something, you know, there are people who say that you can be non-alcoholic, can be made an alcoholic like me. I don't know.
I don't
I've
think so.
known some people in my life who were not at all. I don't know what it would take to make them like I was with the phenomenon of craving and go down the road. They'd never put the time in to do it, you know, and I just don't know about that. But I had
Well, I
someone
wanna-
make a very forceful argument to me to say anybody can be made an alcoholic.
I disagree.
Yeah, I
And
don't think that can be true.
I'm on your side, Monty. I don't believe it either.
You don't either, Alicia?
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
so.
See,
And- yeah.
I think if you talk to anybody in the medical profession that does any studies in this arena, they will tell you that you either have alcoholism or you don't. That you cannot develop it by abusing alcohol. You can go to jail, you can lose your job, you can alienate your
Right.
family, but that isn't what makes you an alcoholic.
Right.
What makes you an alcoholic is the obsession of the mind, and anybody can have the phenomenon of craving. Anybody can feel so much euphoria that they want to do it again. But not everybody's going to have the obsession of the mind, and this is what it looks like. This is one way. I'm standing in front of the ATM machine, 2 years clean and sober. 2 years. And I'm looking at the ATM machine and I'm thinking to myself, this time I'll only take $20 out and buy a $20 bag. And I'll stay home. That's what I'll do. The non-addict doesn't think like that. The drug abuser might think like that, but the addict may think like that, but the person who's just abusing drugs doesn't think like that. The alcoholic doesn't say, I can do this without consequences. And so I take out the $20 and what happens next? Yeah, I better take out 40. Oh, maybe let's just take out 60.
Did you? You didn't, right?
Oh,
'Cause you said you were.
absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
I thought
Yeah,
you
2
said
years
this was
clean and
2
sober.
years after you were sober.
Because I'd been abstinent. I wasn't recovered yet.
Oh, okay.
See?
I had not had a spiritual awakening as a result of the steps.
All right.
I had not recovered yet. I was still active. I just was abstinent. Right? And so the obsession of the mind, you got to remember, the obsession does not conform to reason. What's it say here? To bring, we are unable at certain times to bring into our consciousness with sufficient force the memory of the suffering and humiliation even a month or a week ago. People say, well, keep it green. Just, think it through. Well, if you're not recovered, you can't do that because obsession doesn't conform to reason. If I use, this is what's going to happen. Okay, so what? We're going to use anyway.
And this leads into this whole thing about choice. When I was going for the story I always tell at retreat about going for the test to be a helicopter pilot, and the one night, could I stay home and not drink? One night, and I couldn't. Let me tell you, if I could have made a choice, I'd have chosen to stay home. I mean, really? One night I couldn't choose? I had lost the power of choice. Dead sober, Monty, like you, with it right in front of me, all of the facts and the things. I went that that mindset that we have
Yeah.
sent me to the bar, and then the phenomenon of craving took over. I think this is, we've gone off on a little tangent, but it's really important because there is a difference between the heavy drinker and the real alcoholic. And we always say that the real alcoholic, the real addict. Some people don't like that, but I think there's a difference. And at our retreats, we try to make sure people understand that if you're like us, hearing, and this stuff we're talking about happens to you, the history of mankind, like Monty was saying at the beginning, in the history of recovery and anything anyone's ever done, the most successful thing was the 12-step program, which was a spiritual awakening, which was what ended up happening. And that's the key that we need. Then our choices become differently. Now, when do we choose that nothing else works? There's a point. So there's a decision/choice point in the process, but it is not a choice that results in us stopping in itself as a choice. It's a choice to get help. It's a choice.
Just declaring I'm going to stop isn't sufficient.
Right. The choice, and that's where, and unfortunately, the religious community, Monty, I think you said it as well, and it's certainly the addicted community which holds this position stronger.
Yeah.
Hardly anyone in the addiction would say they had much of a choice. Who would throw 30 years of their life away? I didn't do that as a conscious choice. Was I making choices while I was in it? I guess it looks like I was making decisions to make sure the addiction got fed. It's not the same thing.
No. So the question is, okay, so I'm talking to somebody and they're going, well, you chose to do that. Okay, so you're telling me that I woke up that morning, I chose to go down to the liquor store, drink a quart of vodka, crash my car, go to jail, end up in prison for the next 3 years. That I woke up before I ever put it in my body, and I chose those things. To do that, sir, would be insane. Would you not agree? And the person will go, yeah, that is insane. There it is.
Insanity.
It's insanity. It's a mental obsession. It's insanity. The brain is sick. And it's being driven and taken. I would no more in my right mind ever do that.
Right. Very good.
Well, I must not be in my right mind. Therefore, I've lost the power and choice.
Well said.
Alicia, what do you think about all this?
I have such a hard time with this. I really do, because I just looking at myself and my eating disorders for 33 years, and I feel I chose it.
Mm-hmm.
I chose it. I didn't want to get help. I was hiding it. And yes, I was miserable, but I just keep choosing it? And then finally it hit me, and then I was like, I don't want to do this anymore.
No, you were making decisions that fed your addiction. You didn't choose to be addicted. That's the difference.
Okay.
Right. You chose some of the behaviors, but you didn't choose to. I wasn't born with the ability to choose to be allergic to alcohol. I was born allergic to alcohol.
So you were making choices all along to feed the addiction, but you didn't choose the addiction. You didn't one day say, I want eating disorder.
Yeah.
So I think we're getting through finally. I see the light coming on. But it's that, I mean, it's important for us to be talking about it, because somebody's listening thinking the same thing. Somebody's listening. They are.
Is it offensive to you too if somebody says, "What's your drug of choice?" Is that something I should really
I know what they mean
by
that. They really mean, what was your primary addiction? What was the thing that you mostly...
The biggie, yeah.
The main thing. I mean, today we're wise enough to say, I don't know, it could have been anything. Everything was a yet. I was alcohol, cocaine, mostly uppers. But could it have been? I just never did heroin or meth. It's not that I don't think they would have been, had I done them. I don't know.
My drug of choice was whatever you had in your pocket at the time.
Yeah. So we don't use that terminology at Came to Believe. We don't even talk about that kind of thing ever. I mean, I might ask somebody, what was your primary? What was your thing? I'll say to somebody, what was your thing? Drinking. Because most will say anything, because so it's not offensive, Alicia, but I think we got to be careful using that cavalierly.
I think that question is probably more suited for a treatment center that has clinicians and that kind of thing, because there are some attributes, if you can call them attributes, of different kinds of narcotics, that's a different animal, right? I mean, if you are a meth addict, there's things going on in your brain, in the neurotransmitters and all that kind of stuff. That can be different than if you're just if you're a pure alcoholic. I mean, and so clinicians need to know that. I mean, sometimes people, this one guy had a fatty tumor that was pressing on the dopamine sensors in his brain, and he couldn't stop using. But once the tumor was removed, he never used again. He wasn't an addict. He had a medical condition. So they needed to find that out. So people like Dr. Amen from the Amen Clinic, probably the foremost authority on brain chemistry in the world, studies this kind of stuff, right? So, yeah, I mean, it can be, the world of the meth addict is going to be different in many ways than the world of the guy who's never done anything except for abuse alcohol or is an alcoholic. The world of the cannabis addict may look different than the world of the meth addict. I mean, I knew a guy, he never drank at all. He never did meth. But marijuana had him, destroyed his life. And a lot of the chemistry that was going on in his brain was slightly different. So I think for the clinicians, yes, it's very appropriate. We're more focused and came to believe, and I think even in the 12-step rooms, on okay, whether it's a choice or not, let's move away from that. Let's look at the solution. Mm-hmm. But in order to understand the solution, you must understand the problem, right? And we've said it before. The faith community understands the solution, but they don't understand the problem. And the secular community understands the problem, but they don't understand the solution. Let's get together. And that's what's happening at the Salvation Army in so many cases now. Is you've got a lot of people coming out of the secular community, coming into the faith community, and now bringing this 12-step model in there, right? And bringing it all together and saying, okay, let's look at the solution, guys. Because guess what? If you're a heavy drinker and your life is being ruined, you may not be an alcoholic, but wouldn't it be good news if you could get your life back? You can through this process, just like the alcoholic. It may look a little different the way we approach this whole choice thing, but I think the solution is still the same. And if I may, in that same chapter, in There Is a Solution, interestingly enough, it's titled that. It says, when this sort of thinking, this is the inability to choose, is fully established in an individual with alcoholic tendencies, he has probably placed himself beyond human aid. All right? So no therapist is going to solve the problem. No chairperson in an AA meeting is going to solve the problem. The meeting isn't even going to solve the problem. He's beyond human aid. And it says, and unless locked up, he may die or go permanently insane. This stark and ugly fact that had been confirmed by legions of alcoholics themselves throughout history. But for the grace of God, there would have been thousands more convincing demonstrations. So many want to stop but cannot. There is a solution. Almost none of us like the self-searching, the leveling of our pride, the confession of shortcomings, which the process requires for it to be successful. But we saw that it really worked in others, and we had come to believe, there it is, in the hopelessness and futility of life as we had been living it. When, therefore, we were approached by those in whom the problem had been solved, there was nothing left for us but to pick up the simple kit of spiritual tools laid at our feet. We have found much of heaven, and we have been rocketed into a fourth dimension of existence of which we had not even dreamed. The great fact is this, guys, and nothing less, that we have had deep and effective spiritual experiences which have revolutionized our whole attitude toward life, toward our fellows, and toward God's universe. The central fact of our lives today is the absolute certainty that our Creator has entered into our hearts and lives in a way which is indeed miraculous. He has commenced to accomplish those things for us that we could never do by ourselves. That's the solution. So the question, learn how to stop and learn how to live, that's how you do it. That's how you do it. You surrender to the Creator. You surrender to the God who is God. You surrender to the God of the Bible. No other gods, no meetings, no step studies even. That's not what you surrender to. Those are all important. But our surrender goes to Him. And for me, it's a daily surrender. It doesn't mean that I want to drink every day. The obsession's been removed from me, which brings me to something I'm excited about, and I can't shut up about it. Do I choose to stay sober? No. Hey, like that, Alicia. I do not choose to stay sober. It's a non-issue. God has removed the obsession. Therefore, the allergy of the body doesn't exist. The obsession is gone. It's a non-issue. Monty, you choose not to drink. What are you talking about? It's a non-issue. I don't choose not to, and I don't choose to. It's not part of my life. Mm-hmm. It's not a matter of choice. It's a matter of sane behavior.
So, very interesting point for you, Alicia. We are not choosing to not drink today.
It's
or
just
to
not
drink.
a thing, right? It's removed.
It's not a thing.
It's not a
If
thing.
it was a choice, it would always be a choice.
Yeah, but with food,
Yeah.
I have to eat every day. So it's just a little bit different. But I guess the obsession has been lifted. And yeah, I don't know.
You have to eat, but you don't have to abuse it.
Right. Yeah.
But I can see where that's another animal too. That's a kind of a whole nother world.
Well, I mean, and yes, we've talked about this. I mean, we know that it's a symptom of something going on, but one of the things we can do with drugs and substance use is we can be abstinent of them. We can remove them from us. As part of our solution, we do remove them. We don't have to learn how to drink a little bit of booze. But food, you have to learn how to...
It's a whole other discipline.
Yeah,
I can't even imagine.
You know, even sex and love addiction. I mean, love and in relationships and all are wonderful, powerful things. How do you keep it from going off the rails? Those are different things. So I still think you don't choose. I think the choices that went when you were actively in your addiction, they were fueling this crazy thing going on inside you, which isn't going on inside you anymore. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a different 10, 11, and 12 for you. I mean, if you stop your 10 and 11 and 12, the crazy things, and then the way you do act could change. I mean, if Monty and I stopped doing our 10, 11, and you too, stopped doing our 10, 11, and 12 and began to go those, then maybe, it wouldn't even be a choice, I don't think. I think that the need for the relief, the addiction could possibly come back. And then we decide to use that, I guess, decide.
It could show up in other ways.
It could show up in other ways, right? Addiction
I can't
switching,
even imagine,
right?
like when you said stop doing 10, 11, and 12, I can't even imagine. That will never happen. It's kind of like the alcohol is gone. It's like it's not even a part. Not doing 10, 11, and 12
it's like become such a part of you, right?
You can't. What is that?
Well, the benefit is so great, right?
Yeah,
the benefit is so
just
great.
A part of our lives. It's not
like
even
breathing.
a question.
Yeah. But I think, I'm thinking about that, Monty, what you said, and this is, I think, so hard for so many people that are in the rooms that haven't been through this idea that there could be a day when it just is a non-issue. Right? It really, people say, I do not struggle with temptation for alcohol or drugs every day, ever. For years, I do not struggle with it.
Me either.
I just don't. I don't ever think about it. And is it because I made a choice of no, I'm doing a process. I've lived. I've got a spiritual awakening. Yes, I've neuroplasticity. I may have rewired my brain by good activity, but so what?
Yes.
That's a solution. But I absolutely, guys, I mean, I'll take a lie detector. I don't struggle with it.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
about it. There's
the
a
big
bottle
one
of wine in my refrigerator. There's a bottle of gin and vodka for my family when they come. I never, ever, ever think about it at all, even a little. Ever. That's recovered.
That's recovered, and that is such good news. That is, oh my gosh, and I don't have alcohol in our home because nobody in our family drinks. Nobody does. But I could go to somebody's house, and in fact, I could. I asked this question. I don't know if I asked you guys this, but let's be honest. How many people have visited somebody's home and used their restroom and looked in their medicine cabinet intentionally? How many people have done that? Most people say yes, they've done that, and they don't have to be addicts, right? Let me tell you something. I could open a medicine cabinet and I could see Quaaludes, I could see hydrocodone, and it's a non-issue. Mm-hmm. The big book says the problem for us has been removed. It no longer exists.
Yeah. Same with me going to parties and seeing all the cake and the cookies and the chips and the non-food items. I'm not eating that. It's not even I'm not eating it.
Right. It's like me and exercise. I ain't doing it. No, I could have said that a few months ago before I started doing my
Keep
strength
coming back. Just keep coming back.
Yeah.
That is it's this place that we shout from the mountaintop.
Yes.
That's what these guys were after. They were not after a struggle for the rest of their lives.
No.
So, okay, at some point, I guess the word there was a choice to pivot and to look at the other road, even though you didn't know where it was going, but you said the road I'm on isn't any good. I'm going to pivot to this other road, and someone guided me. The stand by the door. Someone grabbed my hand that I couldn't find it.
I stand by the door.
And I reached out, but I didn't know what I was reaching out. I didn't know where the door was or what was beyond the door or anything. And that would be different if I had a choice, if I knew what was beyond the door and what it was, right? This is that difference. I know. At least just processing. We'll probably have another hour conversation
because
after.
it's kind of like I've said, like in teaching step 2, like now what? I mean, I don't know. What do I do? I mean, I don't know, but I don't want to do that anymore.
Well,
and
there
we
you
just
go.
continue, keep going. And even though I don't know, it's scary. Okay, but I can do hard things. All that stuff is.
We're out of time, guys. But I do want to say that. I want to get your closing thoughts. I do want to say this at the risk of sounding like a fifth degree Calvinist.
Right.
There's nothing. The Apostle Paul said, "There's nothing good that lives within me that is in my sinful nature." Right? There's nothing good that lives. So any good that I produce, any right choices that I make, I only make by the power of the Holy Spirit in my life today. I would love to take credit for it. Mm-hmm. But, when I make the bed for Marcia, that's not me wanting to. It just isn't. That's not me. I don't want to do that, but I do it. You know why I do it? Because the Spirit of the living God lives within me, and He motivates me. He gives me the power. He gives me to do the things that I don't want to do, but are the right things to do. It's by His power. It isn't mine. Thank God, because my power is powerless, right? But now I don't just have a power I can tap into. It lives inside of me. It's inside of you, Tom. It's inside of you, Alicia. That power is alive and it lives in us. That is just mind-blowing to me. It doesn't mean we're robots, but it means we now have God in us. We have met our Maker, and He lives in us. That blows my mind.
I'm having trouble getting past. You didn't want to make your bed. And then I love making my bed. I want it made. It's made right now, and no one sees it ever. Isn't that something?
Same
No
with
one
me.
sees it.
That's because you're obsessive
And I
compulsive.
make it. I
You probably
reject
unmake
that.
it, make it several times. Right?
No, I reject that. It's good, orderly. Yeah, it's putting stuff in order. Anyway, I'm just kidding you, but I know what you mean. We live by a power now that lives in us. It's not an external thing it's a true internal thing. It's so hard for people
to
to
have an
grasp
experience.
or to understand. And I even see religious people, when they feel bad, they go, I got to go to another Bible study. And I'm like, maybe those are good things.
Those are good things,
But
but
what you need is the presence. You need to, God didn't say, go to a Bible study. That's where they will reveal things, but you're missing your connection.
or you got to go to Sedona and find a portal so you can get
Right.
close to God again.
I
You know
can't-
what? I could do that right here, right now, anytime.
I have once in a while I'll be talking to somebody and then I'll say something about, I don't know, we're doing this, came to believe, we're hoping for this. And when they ask me, what church you going to? I am always, and we may get flack for this, but I say, what does it matter? What does that matter? What church I'm going to? I mean, what?
We should have a show on that because
I
I
could
think
misbehave.
you need to go to church.
Why isn't it, how's your relationship with God? I would love that. That's a better question. How's your relationship with God? How's your relationship right now
Yeah.
with others? Who's a mentor in your life? Better question for Tom. What church am I going to? So with the implication that if I walk through the door and sit in a chair, my problems will be solved? Or I'll have the answer. I might get it. Right, again, not a bad idea.
I think
Not a
some
bad
people,
idea.
within Christendom, I think it's almost like when people sit down, they've just met each other and they're going, "Oh, so what do you do for a living?" I think
It's just an
one of those
automatic.
like-
That's different.
Yeah,
I'm
what
all right,
church
with
you go
that.
to?
Yeah.
Closing thoughts, Alicia.
Make a decision to get help. That's all I got.
Got it. Tom, closing thoughts.
Yeah, when you've been driven to that place, when you're on that dilemma, that crossroads, there's a crossroads I think we all get to, which might be brought by an intervention or circumstances or whatever that is. That crossroads, turn to the light. I say the same thing. Turn to that thing that you don't understand. Take the path less traveled, maybe. And I say that because we were there too, if nothing else.
Amen.
We were there. Just turn towards it and someone will grab your hand. And that might be a nice, warm, invisible hand right out of the heavens coming to pull you along and give you a process that you never knew,
Yeah.
to a life you never dreamed of, a fourth dimension of existence, and happy, joyous, and free. And you too will understand the condition of recovered.
Amen. Good show, guys. Good show. Well, our closing song is entitled "God Can Use a Broken Man," and this is the trio of Jason Pratt, Grace Atkins, and Zach Williams.
I've been down to the bottom. I was looking at a mountain I could not climb. I was addicted, if I'm being honest, for a long time. I was in a prison in need of a savior. I lifted my hands up to the sky. I cried out to heaven. I surrendered for the first time. Oh, God can use a broken man. He can take all of our failures, make us whole again. can use a broken man. I've been changed from the better. I'm never gonna go back. Oh, I am free. Taste of forgiveness. Taste of forgiveness is better than anything, I could ever dream. I could ever dream. Oh, God can use a broken man. He can take all of our fears, make us whole again. I'm living proof. Yes, I am. That God can use a broken man. Bring all your burdens, your troubles and your worries. Oh, come to the cross and lay it down. Bring all your mistakes, your sorrows and your heartaches. Come to the cross and be found. Oh, God can use a broken man. He can take all of our feelings, make us whole again. I'm living proof. Yes, I am. Oh, God can use a broken man. He can take all of our failures, make us whole again. I'm living proof. Yes, I am. That God can use a broken man. God can use a broken man. That God can use a broken man.
The topic of choice has been our focus on this episode of the Came to Believe Recovery Podcast. And choice has been defined by some as an act of selecting or making a decision when faced with two or more possibilities. Now, I suppose we could argue all day about what is choice and what is not. We might even claim that there is no choice to be made when whatever we're talking about is a non-issue. But if we are having a dialogue around the topic of choice, is it really a non-issue? My goodness, how we can muddy the waters with our opinions, especially when it comes to the simplest of topics. So here's a thought. God is urging us to make serious and deliberate choices to propel us toward the conclusion of His purpose. He requires us to commit and make decisions. In matters of morality, remaining neutral is not an option. The issues are sharply defined: obedience, disobedience, life, death, good and evil. Well, whether you believe you have lost the power in choice or have had it all along, one thing is for certain. God has not lost His power in choice, and He chooses you and I this day to lean not on our own understandings, but in all our ways acknowledging Him, and He promises to guide our path. Are you powerless? Then your solution is that you need a power, the power that comes directly from God. And He who makes all things right invites you this day to tap into His power by simply asking. A short prayer really is all you need. It may be as simple as, God, help me today. Give me your power to choose the path you would have me travel. It's something to think about. Came to Believe Recovery strives to create and promote opportunities for life-changing spiritual experiences for individuals and families suffering from all forms of addiction. For more information, help, and support, visit cametobelieverecovery.org. I'd like to thank you for allowing me to be your host on this episode of the Came to Believe Recovery podcast. And I would encourage you to like, bookmark, and subscribe to this show. When you do, you will join the Take 12 Recovery Radio family and will be notified of all of our recovery-focused shows throughout the week. Until our next broadcast, when we provide the essential spiritual tools needed to thrive by sharing our experience, our strength, and our hope through our stories of how we came to believe.
This has been a production of Take 12 Recovery Radio.
Yeah, kitty, kitty, kitty. Meow.
Woof, woof.
This has been a Chicken and a Pig production.